Welcome to another week of We'll Throw the After Party. And JJ knows what's up. It is time to get loud. And we're getting loud this week about things that have been 2 years in the making on this show, things that we have been waiting for. Truly, this is going to be the most chaotic after party we've ever thrown. Let me give you a quick whip through what we have in the show doc for you this evening. We're going to talk about what we've been enjoying this week, which has been all over the board. Our rants this week might be some of the best rants we've ever done on this show, especially Alexis's. I've been looking forward to this now for weeks. We're talking Rogers the Musical. Can you believe we're back in our Rogers the Musical era? Like, I thought we left this in 2021, but here we are in the Lord's year of 2023, still talking about this goddamn show. And then we're going to break down Ant-Man and the Wasp. And by breakdown, I mean half of us have seen the movie and half of us are getting it spoiled live right here. So if you want to know what happens with Ant-Man and you don't care about getting spoiled, or you want to see our live reaction to what happens in the Ant-Man movie and you want to help spoil it for us, stick around for that towards the end of the show. And finally, Alexis, you're back. Welcome
I'm
back to the
back.
After Party. It's your first episode of season 2.
Thank
We're
you.
so excited to have you, obviously, and to have all of us back on screen. Hooray, we did it. And you're so excited to talk about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We talked a little bit about it last week without you, but at the end of the show, we're going to come back to that conversation and let you chime in since you are our fearless leader on the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur front. But before we get there, what have we been enjoying this week? Because I think we've been a little bit all over the place in terms of there's just been so much to watch and read and do, and announcements left, right, and center. I know my list is all over the place. Marissa, it's been a big week for you.
Yes.
You got to enjoy something in the flesh.
Would you like to start with that? Yes. I'm not going to assume, but if you watched the show last week, you know that I was in Los Angeles for the weekend to see the new Star Kids show, Nerdy Prudes Must Die, which I did see and I did enjoy. And it's closing night for them, so happy closing today. Yeah, that was super fun. Also saw Ant-Man while I was in LA, literally ran to the theater after finishing the show on Saturday. I had 5 minutes before I had to get in the car. That was also fun. And then I just decided on Monday, because I didn't have anything to do and I wasn't leaving until Tuesday, that I was going to go to Disneyland. So I went to Disneyland on this Monday. Still this week. Wow. It's been a long week.
You went to Avengers Campus to drink your daily Starbucks.
Sure did.
And I applaud you for that.
Thank you so much.
I think that's so beautiful and so on brand for you. And I'm very jealous that you had the luxury of doing that.
Yeah. I also, I think it was the only Starbucks that I got in LA because where I was, staying and visiting, there was not a Starbucks easily accessible to me. So truly the easiest Starbucks to get to was in Disneyland. But also in Disneyland, I had a run-in meet and greet with one of our friends, Riley. We took no pictures. We just sat and talked for 20 minutes and it was super fun. But that was a surprise.
Former guest on this show. You can watch our interview with Riley from last year where we talked about representation if you scroll back down on the account.
Yeah.
Little plug. That was a really fun one that we did. Riley's so sweet. That's so fun. We love a little Missa meet and greet.
Yeah. We both agreed that just sitting in Avengers Campus doing nothing is worth the ticket to Disneyland. And I believe that. And that is delusional and irresponsible, but I do believe that.
And that's also a great summary of everything we're going to talk about with Rogers the Musical heading to Avengers Campus. So let's just park that delusional yet optimal energy and come back to it in a little bit. Sly, what have you been enjoying this week?
Oh man, I have been a little all over the place this week. We had a great Thirsty Thursday this week. Except for it ended in me getting banned for hateful behavior again. So, sorry about next week's Thirsty Thursday. It ain't gonna happen. because I'm banned on TikTok.
Is that the new standard of success for Thirsty Thursdays, that you get banned for talking about the gay firefighter show? Like, is that?
Yeah, just getting banned for talking about the gays in general. So as you do. But that was great. We had a great time. Yesterday, I hosted our live recording of the Point in Progress podcast from Beyond the Grave. It was a great time. Probably one of our best episodes of Pip yet. It was incredible. It was hosted by a ghost. We also had somebody possessed by a malevolent spirit of an 1800s cowboy who had no clue about any sort of history ever in the history of humanity. And it was just pure chaos. So definitely go check that out because I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. But yeah, I've been watching things, I've been reading things, I've been listening to things.
What I'm hearing is that you are 2 for 3 so far this week and having really great shows. So the bar is marginally high for We'll Throw the After Party this evening. And I have promised not a consistent run of show, but we started the show on time, and now I'm going to publicly declare that we're going to end the show on time as well.
Oh, wow.
The big promise.
We'd love to see it.
We'll see how it goes. Everyone can hold me accountable to that and come up with a little fun punishment if we don't quite make it there. But for the sake of time, Alexis, what have you been enjoying this week?
Well, I started watching The Rookie, which I swore I wasn't going to do. My mom's a big fan of the show. It's her current hyperfixation. She's been trying to get me on the bandwagon for a while. But I'm not a huge fan of like cop shows. And I'm not a huge fan of cop shows when I'm studying law enforcement. Like, that's just kind of a weird vibe. But then I saw a TikTok clip of somebody being buried alive, and I was like, well, I guess we have to do it. And then I binged the entirety of season 5 like in a day. And I have to say, I don't think it's a show that I would necessarily recommend unless you are like me and you like one genre of media, and that genre of media is like the broken neurodivergent one that is not aware of those facts, falls for like the former army guy that like speaks multiple languages. So if that is your like genre, highly recommend. If it's not, but yeah, that's basically that's been it this week. So
I think I now need a show of Alexis just watching cop shows and talking about them based on what you're doing in your academic work.
Listen, I watch a firefighter show with an individual who loves to rant about the inaccuracies of said firefighter show. And that is pretty much me watching cop shows. Like, it's just not a good time for anybody involved.
I think it'd be a good time, though. I think I would enjoy that. So we'll workshop that. We'll workshop that off air, perhaps. I don't know if you missed it last week, Alexis, but I am now officially on the slippery slope to watching 911. And this week, it resulted in me watching 911, a full episode, which was yet another bananas episode of all the random episodes I've watched of that show. I cannot believe I watched
It's actually the best episode of the season. So, like, if you had to pick one, you picked a good one.
Which one did you watch? Why am I just now hearing about this?
So here's what happened. I, over the holiday break, got roped into FBI.
Yes,
not
I'm aware
FBI
of it.
International. I have hard feelings about FBI International.
Yes, FBI, yeah.
And FBI I've been watching. And this week, it's a show that the setup either completely hits or misses for me. And the setup for this episode, I was like, I'm not into that, like, at all. But then I realized that 911 Lone Star is on in the exact same time block. So I was like, oh, I'm going to watch 911 instead. So I watched 911.
You watched 911 Lone Star?
Yes, sorry, I watched 911 Lone Star. Yeah, I did. It was fun. It was
an episode,
fun.
yeah.
It was definitely an episode. And then I saw people having really big feelings around it. And I was like, oh, clearly this is like something that's either been not built up too appropriately or wasn't, people didn't want it to happen. Sly?
Oh, it wasn't built up. It just came right out of nowhere.
Really? Okay, I clearly need to catch up on my Thirsty Thursday because I had
You really
quite the
do.
reaction
It's
to it and I didn't even know
best
what was going
time.
on. Yeah. So yes, I did watch Now on Lone Star this week. Everyone clap. I really did it. Liz is in her Lone Star era. Absolutely true.
Lord help us
I've
all.
been waiting for Liz to watch season 1, episode 2 for 2 years, and I will not stand for this.
Yeah, Liz has been on a slippery slope. Like, this is the slowest slippery slope I have ever heard
It's not
of.
even a slope. It's just like a
Yeah.
flat surface.
My
that, like,
slippery slope, like, I go from like 0 to 100 in like 15 seconds. That's a slippery slope for me.
right.
Liz is like crawling back up it some of the time and then sliding back down. and-
Pulling up a chair,
yeah,
putting out a beach towel, and like
taking
hanging
a
out for
nap
little
in the middle of
bit.
it for a little while.
Very much.
A little
Very,
while.
very much,
Sorry, my
yeah.
accent came out there.
That was good. I love when your accent comes out on the show. We don't get to hear it often. So that's my new pride and joy is every time your accent slips out while we're doing this.
My accent has also been accenting recently, so you're gonna get some hard A's tonight.
Beautiful. Oh man, what a night for Will Throw the After Party. Our best episode yet, right, Sly? We'll see. So I've been watching a lot of interviews trying to catch up on content. Had a very like smallest violin moment this week when my Safari lost all like 65 tabs of articles that I was going to use in TikTok. So now I'm back at square one trying to like catch up.
I think that's a regular sized violin moment. That
Regular size violin? Okay.
65 is a
60,
lot.
65 articles that I was planning on like using in videos that I had coming up towards the Oscars. So that was fun. But I was watching a lot of the Ant-Man press tour. And Paul Rudd is talking a lot about Only Murders in the Building. People are asking him questions about working with Meryl Streep and like that whole experience while he's promoting this. And then we got the news that Ashley Park is now a part of the Only Murders in the Building cast. I'm just so happy that this show is doing Only Murders in the Building because we have such an exciting season 3 to look forward to. Like, go us. I'm so excited for this. But what about y'all? I know, Marissa, you've been watching the casting really closely as well. Are you pumped about the direction we're heading in?
Yes. I mean, we're already getting like a play within a play vibes. Meryl's popping up. Now we've got Ashley Park. Like, after season 2, I was sort of like, I guess I'll keep watching because I have something to talk to my parents about. But now I'm like, oh, I'll be watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, like I'm right back on the train after I was not so sure after the last season finale. Sly and Alexis, what about you?
I'm just here. I'm just vibing.
I had a feeling y'all were on the same page with us.
Notably-
Marissa and I are on like level 100 and y'all are like, it's great, it's fine.
Notably, I ignore like all press, all previews, all promos. So sure. Cool. I'm glad you're excited. I'm here for the ride. I'm gonna watch it anyways. So like,
And I think Alexis is like on the same page. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
I am the leader of the press tour analysis on this show. I get that. It's the same way y'all literally do the rest of the work on here. So it's all good. The other thing that I've been enjoying this week is like the volume of pop music that came out this week like hurts my head. Like there's just been so much. We got Jonas Brothers, Wings, we have The Weeknd and Ariana Grande collabing. We've got Gracie Abrams' new album, which Aaron Dessner produced on. And then of course, not exactly pop music, but sounding a lot more poppy than other albums. The National is starting to put out music ahead of their release on April 28th, if I'm remembering that correctly. If you know anything about me, I'm a snobby fan of The National, so I've just been in my zone with this music. I'm so excited about it. And I have not liked all of their single choices over the years, so the fact that I'm impressed right now is a big deal for me.
When's the Hosier album?
And thank you. Like,
is it out already?
No, it was announced. It was
Okay.
this week. You're like, this is how much we've had to deal with as
a lot.
As a community. We got the music video for Heaven this week. We have press starting for Miley ahead of her album coming out. Too much music, but I'm not complaining. It's a lot. So if you want to follow along the pop music side of what I do, it's all happening on Instagram stories. And I think like I've been trying to decide what's the best song that was released from the past week for me to make my coffee to. So I think I need to like come to that conclusion because right now my coffee journey is all over the place. But with that said, Instagram will have updates on that as we go. Why don't we do some ranting about everything else that happened last week? Because I could rant about pop music, but instead I want to rant about the new season of Outer Banks. Outer Banks 3 is just chaos, and I think everybody should watch it because it is so bad it's good. And I truly believe there is a trope for everybody. So I'm going to walk you through the tropes that only appear in the first 5 episodes. I'm now 5 episodes into the season. And if I don't convince you there's a trope for you by the end of my rant, that I've done something horribly wrong. Marissa, what are you ranting about this evening?
I will be revisiting a rant I believe I have previously delivered about what I would do if I was in charge of Disneyland, because I was walking around and I had a lot of opinions to tell to no one. And so now everyone else gets to hear them.
I like to imagine you with a clipboard and your Starbucks being like, no, yes.
Clipboard Marissa
The
era.
clipboard era.
Clipboard Marissa era. Yeah, absolutely that. Yes. Sly, what are you ranting about this evening?
My rant is going to be publicly shaming my friends.
A usual rant for Sly on the show, and always a crowd
We deserve
pleaser.
it.
Always a crowd pleaser. I'm excited. I think, are we also getting roasted in this? Like,
Oh, yeah.
specifically? Oh, great, beautiful, as we should be. Alexis, what are you ranting about this evening?
I am ranting about things that I think are improved by sweaters and things that I think are not improved by sweaters. Previously, I made comments on the show that I think everything is better with a sweater. I am very pro sweaters. But this list, which at one time was very serious and now is just like a running total of my gut feelings, will include both pro sweater and negative sweater moments. So
We call that growth. And
right?
this is such a deep cut. You're just dropping the deep cuts this evening, like you with the under the radar 911 reference.
It's
love.
never under the radar when I know JJ is in the audience. I have a target audience of 1 this evening, so I'm glad that is working out for me.
It's getting there. I love it. This is also, if you're new to the show, such a deep cut to a long running stint of sweaters in the MCU. So just please know my heart is happy, and we'll all catch up together. With that, let me convince you that Outer Banks has a trope for everyone. You don't watch this show expecting great television. If that's your goal, watch literally anything else on the planet. This is a show about teen angst, the same way that you watch Gossip Girl for teen angst. No one's saying that the acting in that show is perfect or even like worthy of rewatching. It's about the angst and the drama and the attachment you get to people for arbitrary reasons. So I have a list and I'm going to give it to you in the next segment.
Okay, first thing I would do if I was in charge of Disneyland is get Carol Danvers a new freaking wig. The wig she is wearing, apologies for ruining the magic, that is not hair that she has ever had in the MCU. It's like down to here. It's like a dark shadow root. It's all one length. It's no, thank you, no. I really like what Brie Larson has got going on recently, so like give her that. Please. Thank you.
All right. So a little bit of backstory. A while back on Thirsty Thursday, JJ, as we all know and love, was like, hey, wouldn't it be so cool if we had a place to keep track of what everybody's like consuming so we have friends to talk about it with? I was like, I can make that a spreadsheet. And so I did. And everybody was like, wow, this is so cool. This is so great. I love that we can keep track of who's watching what so we can talk with each other. But
Okay, so things that are improved by sweaters. Now, these can be things that are already good that I think would be even better with sweaters. And it also includes things like the Australian men's firefighter calendar that I feel are bad, but think could become good if everyone just put on a damn sweater. Then all men's firefighter calendars also falls in that category, especially the one from my area. Awful currently. would be improved with sweaters.
Muted. So muted.
So sorry, I have to interrupt Alexis's rant because that's all I want to hear about. But Outer Banks. Okay, in season 3, in the first 5 episodes, here's my list of the tropes that stood out to me, and this isn't even extensive. Enemies trapped in a room and they need each other and need to come over their circumstances in order to escape. And it's just angsty the entire way through, and a lot of looking like that at each other. Yeah. No love club, no love pact. We're not falling in love. Mm-hmm.
The next thing I would do if I was in charge of Disneyland is make the Minute Maid frozen apple juice from the Red Rose Tavern stand in Fantasyland in Disneyland available at every snack kiosk in both Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure. And also I would put them in Disney World because it is my favorite thing that it's so good. I don't like almost any drink, but I do like apple juice. And a frozen apple juice? I need it all the time.
We all know the only time a spreadsheet is successful is if people actually use them. And, I shared this with everybody. They all had access to it. Some people did fill out some things a little bit. Some people who might be on this podcast have not touched it at all. But the biggest problem here is looking at the edit history. The only time somebody besides me has touched this was exactly a month ago.
The K-pop group Stray Kids would be improved by sweaters, mainly because they just look really uncomfortable in their costumes. I think all T-Rexes would be improved by sweaters. Just K-pop in general. Like, I think that uncomfortable costume thing is kind of like an across-the-board problem. As previously discussed, Goran Viznik, already great, much better with a sweater. My brother Jacob, I think, improves with sweaters.
The No Love Club, where you make a pact that you are not going to fall in love, and then we shall see if you fall in love. It's really good. Followed by, you can sleep in my bedroom, and I'll sleep on the couch. Deadly combo. Okay, that's my wife. Don't speak about my wife that way. Followed by, I'll find a way back to you. We saved each other. Oh, I love a we saved each other trope. Daddy issues and mommy issues to the fucking extreme all the time. All the time.
I have tweeted both Bob Iger and Bob Jacob about this next problem. The toilet paper situation in the Disney parks is atrocious. You tear literally piece by piece. It's single ply. It's horrendous. We need at least 2-ply toilet paper up in here. Next, encounter versus meet and greet. Can we just all make all of the character things the same in the Disneyland app? It's so confusing. I just want to see that character.
I'm looking at the version history right now. The last time anybody besides me has touched this spreadsheet was January 24th at 9 p.m. However, the person who I especially want to call out is the reason the spreadsheet exists. JJ has not touched it since January 5th. Just saying. It's a really good spreadsheet. It's well organized. I keep on track of it. But it only works if people are actually using it. So.
Okay, I'm going to rapid fire through the rest of these pros so I can get to some cons. So Lucy Chin, Tim Bradford, me, all improved by sweaters. All animated mice, Timothy Oliphant, Taylor Swift fans, all Captain Americas, all fictional baristas, one Evan Buckley, people that work on the docks, TM, improved by sweaters, young Mark Harmon, improved by sweaters, ghosts, improved by
Outer
sweaters.
Banks is an art heist. This is a show about treasure hunting and art stealing and art recovery. Alexis, you love an art heist. You should watch this fucking show. It is so bad. It's good. And you have these heirlooms. They're supposed to be worth millions of dollars that do not look like they could be worth millions of dollars. It's great. Fake marriage for the sake of getting out of a sticky situation. Don't ever do that to me again. It scared me so bad. Pet names that make you want to puke.
Further on this encounters versus meet and greet things, half the characters will be listed as like you can meet this character at this time, at this place, at this time, at this place. And the other half will be like, if you go to this section of the park, you might see someone you would like to meet. Like, it's so annoying. Just tell me when I can meet Sam Wilson and what time, where he's going to be. Finally, the Hyperion. This is getting into Rogers the Musical territory, but Avengers Campus should be pushed back past the Hyperion into Monsters, Inc.
All right. Now is where I get to be a little chirpy. I spent so much time on the spreadsheet. It's color coordinated. I spent so much time formatting it, so it's super easy to use. There's 4 segments very clearly labeled, like what goes where. Super easy to access. It's alphabetized, so you can find things. It's a great spreadsheet, if I do say so myself. So to all my friends, I love you all so dearly, but I did want to take my rant time this week to publicly shame you for not using the spreadsheet.
Okay, so some of these cons are things that are just going to be bad regardless, and some of them are things that are fine, but I think would be uncomfortable in sweaters, and I'm just trusting you to figure it out. So we have things that would not be improved by sweaters. Ryan Guzman, Elliot Spencer, cops in general, alligators, Rob Lowe, geese, people that do MMA, monsters, but I definitely meant mobsters, all Iron Men, and Mark Harmon at his current age. And then we have neutral cowboys.
Oh my God, Alexis. Oh my God. Just 1 second. Hold on.
Sly, I'm going to be really real with you. I forgot that spreadsheet existed until this rant. So I can't wait to revisit it.
I just haven't consumed anything new since the last time I used it.
There's been updates to things added to the sheet that you may have seen or may not.
Well, yeah, but nobody's talking to me about them. If I felt like people were going to communicate with me about them, I would go update the spreadsheet.
That's the whole point of the fucking spreadsheet.
My point is that nobody is communicating with me anyway. So why would I update the spreadsheet?
I would like to congratulate Alexis on our first puffer moment of the season.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was when he said Rob Lowe, and it took me like 20 seconds to process. And my lungs just went whoomp. Anyway, sorry. What were we discussing?
How no one uses the spreadsheet that I forgot existed.
Listen, my coworkers are going to love that I got publicly roasted for misuse of spreadsheets. So I think Sly did a real service to the community tonight. However, I would also like to say that I love that our community is so strong that we can now roast community members on the show. It's like a new level. We've gone from just bringing in community members as co-hosts to roasting community members as part of the show, which is like that's a whole other situation we got to talk about here.
Yeah, shout out JJ, Bunky, Mac. I love you all so dearly, but I am publicly roasting you on the show.
You gave them warning, though, to be fair.
I did.
You really did. Well, we've also given a lot of warning that we are going back to 2021 this evening because Rogers the Musical is back. I'm going to just pass the floor right over to Marissa. Marissa, can you explain for all to hear what the fuck was announced this week?
Oh, I would love to. So, for a little bit of backstory, if you're on the side of the internet that I am, which is like the intersection of musical theater and Disney parks, you would know that like around a month ago, a casting went out for a new production at the Hyperion in Disney's California Adventure, which is the like traditional theater space that they have in that park. Previous shows there have been like a 1-act version of Frozen. They did Aladdin as a musical. Both of those were like shorter 1-act versions. They were not like the full Broadway productions that have since come. But like, you know, they do real musicals there. And so a casting went out with no show information, no character titles. All we knew was that it was, let me get it back for you. All we knew is that, here it is. A new musical project will come to life through the creativity of Disney Live Entertainment in partnership with book writer Hunter Bell, who wrote the book and starred in the Tony-nominated Title of Show, which is a show that I love, and music from Emmy-nominated and Grammy-winning composer Christopher Leonards. Neither of those creators were people that had previously been attached to like a Disney show, a Disney movie, musical, any of that. So we were like, what is it going to be? based on the character descriptions, which again had no character names, people were guessing it was going to be Hercules because there was some like Greek chorus mentions. But then some people noticed that the female casting required a strong English accent. And they were like, what if it's Rogers the Musical? And I was like, no, never. They would never do that. They would not build, rehearse, and put on a full version of Rogers the Musical. And readers, that's exactly what they did. So Thursday, it was announced that Rogers the Musical is going into the Hyperion at Disney's California Adventure for a limited time, limited run, basically, as a one-act musical. And it rocked my world, truly. So here, let me read you the official press release.
You know what? I'm just going to make an executive decision. The last thing that I want to hear is people trying to PR the fuck out of this musical.
Oh, but it's so PR.
All right, do it.
Okay.
Give us the highlights.
Starting this summer, for a limited time engagement, a short one-act version of Rogers the Musical will debut on the Hyperion stage inside California Adventure Park. More details will be announced at a later date, but Disney Parks shared a small tease of what's to come when the Avengers step into the spotlight. And then it was this like Instagram reel of who is ostensibly Peggy Carter walking up to the Hyperion with a playbill that says Rogers the Musical. You can see it for yourself on the Disney Parks Instagram, but that's how it went.
I just love that now that we have an update to the casting call, including characters. Shout out to the Starkettes.
Yes.
The Greek chorus. That's a choice.
Yes. Yeah. The last time I looked at this casting was the day it was announced on Thursday, and it had finally been updated to be titled Rogers the Musical, but the character names had not been changed yet. And when I came back to it today, the character names have been changed. If you go to DisneyAuditions.com, you can see the full casting notice. It closes tomorrow, so if you want to submit, get in that self-tape. Would anyone like to know the roles that they are casting?
I'm looking at them, but they're great. I think you should read them off.
Okay, wonderful. So first up, as Sly said, we have the Starkettes, which are 3 female identifying roles. They must be able to sing styles anywhere between Destiny's Child to the Anderson sisters, or Andrew sisters. So like we're going 50s to 2000s. Yes, and they're described as the occasional Greek chorus. Then, surprise to no one, Peggy Carter must have a strong English accent. Then, this is the one that I was like, maybe it's Bucky. I don't know. It's not. It's young Steve. Described as a young man coming into his greatness.
That's a choice.
So we've got a young Steve, like we've got a skinny Steve, and then we have Steve Rogers. He is a noble, loyal, idealistic, and romantic do-gooder who does not give up easily. Not what I would have said, but okay.
Also, it's a romantic do-gooder for me. It's that combination of words. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the thing that I thought would be like Howard Stark, Tony Stark, maybe. Nope, Nick Fury. He is a decisive, capable, principled, and has a wry sense of humor. Leads others with attitude and swagger.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly how I would describe Nick Fury.
So they're looking for Starkettes, Peggy Carter, young Steve, and Nick Fury, and then like ensemble.
So do we think young Steve is skinny Steve, or do we think there's like young Steve, skinny Steve, Captain America Steve?
No, I think young Steve is skinny Steve.
Which is also a choice.
Yeah.
Because skinny Steve and Steve are the same age. They're the same person.
Yeah. Young Steve is casting 17 to 20, but like Steve is casting mid-20s to early 30s. Listen,
Can we
Disney Live Entertainment.
Can we highlight this? The fact that this is one act.
Yep.
What?
Okay, so one time, a long time ago, and I really wanted to get into the University of Kentucky. We're not going to talk about that era, but it was an era that Alexis had. And so I went there to tour for grad school. And as part of my grad school tour, I got to go see the Marvel Universal Live Avengers show.
Yes.
Which was basically just like a bunch of stunt writers on motorcycles and like Avengers characters in the background.
Yes.
And that is what I am feeling from this one act Steve Rogers musical.
It's too much. It's too much.
And the fact that we know that at least 5 minutes of this, what,
Save the
60-minute
city.
show, it saved the city.
It's gonna be. This
It's
is my
5 minutes.
This is my prediction. It's gonna be like, I don't know, some intro song. Steve being like, "I want to join the army." Blah blah blah. He gets juiced up. Then it's Man with a Plan because I already have the rights to that song. Then I don't know. We do like a smash cut through the first Avenger. He wakes up in New York City, save the city, end of show. Like Save the City has got to be the finale.
but
World
you're
War
thinking-
II
was
in 60
absurd
seconds.
because it was the Act 1 closer in the 2-act show.
Yeah.
So, like, are we just not getting the second act of Roger?
Nothing about this indicates that there are any other Avengers. So
How are they going to do Save the City with just Steve and Steve?
and Peggy. And Peggy.
And Peggy.
In the Starkettes, you're forgetting the title role.
how can you forget the Starkettes? Literally like top billing on the casting.
Look at how many people are in this photo.
Yeah.
Not so. Okay, this is a really great time to reflect as the experts, the people who have thought more about Rogers the Musical than all of Marvel combined.
Mhm.
And I say that with my full chest. Let's revisit the incredibly academic work that we have done on this show to create every possible version of Rogers the Musical. So it all started with fan casting, and we fan casted both a high and a low budget version of Rogers the Musical. So those casting calls, here is who you should be recruiting for your roles. And some highlights from here, in case you weren't around these days. We did this live. You can rewatch us making these choices live before Sly was even a full-time host on the show. Sly was in the comments feeding in, and actually
In fact, we weren't calling Sly Sly.
we were calling
calling
Sly.
Sly.
These were Sly's predictions as well for who should be in a high and low budget version of Rogers the Musical. And I dare say Sly had some of the better predictions of this group.
And to Sly's credit, Derek Clenham made it. He's not
Thank
on
you.
screen,
Thank
but
you.
he is one of the voices.
It's true.
I'm just that.
Again,
I'm
plugged
just that
in.
tuned in.
This is
Plugged
an
in.
academic show. This is an academic show. We know we are the experts on Rogers the Musical. We also, another prediction from this fan casting that is correct is the inclusion of wacky inflatable people in the MCU. We did get wacky inflatables having premier roles in Hawkeye. And speaking of Hawkeye, I'm realizing that I meant to bring us back to the branding we used during the Rogers the Musical shows. So now we're really back in 2021. Any other casting on here that's actually correct now? I think that's the only one.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I would not be surprised if Brian Darcy James shows up in this thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's a great take.
I mean, this was before Hawkeye, so like he was in Hawkeye, so does that count? He was half in
You know
it.
what?
I'll give it to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the other prediction on this that is correct is right here. Oh, you can't see my mouse, but Marissa's second column, 2 down, that purple box. The casting for Thor that Marissa made was a Party City costume of Thor on any person.
Yes.
And we did see that level of costume quality in Hawkeye's version of Rogers the Musical. There was a lot of skepticism around the costumes that they used. So I would say that was also correct.
Yeah.
I think somebody said that Natasha was just going to be like the one woman from the theater department that could do a high kick.
That was
and I
me,
think
yes.
that casting was also correct.
That did happen. Yeah.
Correct. So we moved from fan casting. If this version of the show does not work for Marvel, or one of the 2 versions of casting we did for the show, because we've already taken so many of our ideas and not compensated us for them. We did do if Rogers the Musical was a Taylor Swift oh my god, I can't speak. Jukebox?
Mm-hmm.
That.
Jukebox.
Thank you. Oh my god, my brain. If Taylor Swift jukebox styling was applied to this idea, and we did a full 2.5, possibly 3-hour long version of this musical with many depressing song choices and bold claims, including Bucky needs to be unalived on stage multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we also stand by this.
Yeah.
Although we now have to reconsider Midnights as a part of this choice, which is not something that we had last time. So perhaps we need to revisit this in a future episode.
Yeah.
Then we applied Six the Musical to the Rogers the Musical thinking. So thinking about the characters that would be really critical to telling the story of Steve Rogers and not just centering it on Steve Rogers. And this was a really feminist approach to Rogers the Musical. Unfortunately, we did center all of it around Peggy. We were very pro Peggy having a big role in this, but Natasha did get a big number as per Katy Perry's The One That Got Away, which really played into our delusional fan fiction energy. And I think that other than the emphasis on Peggy, perhaps we still stand by this one as well.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Marissa.
Well, I just don't think we're not giving enough attention to the fact that Coulson was one of the 6.
As he should be.
I had completely forgot about that. Oh my god.
That was such a funny episode. Oh my god. Yeah, Coulson doing the big idealism, my heart will go on number.
I would like to, though, pitch delusional fanfiction energy as your next rebrand, Liz. Good descriptor of this show. Yeah.
Listen, I think we need to bring back this series every week until Rogers the Musical starts at Disneyland. Let's just continue pitching different versions of what this musical should be.
I am for that, bestie.
I think we should stop giving away our brilliant ideas for free on the internet because obviously they're stealing them. If anything we've learned today, they are taking these ideas and using it for their own gain, and we're seeing zero compensation.
Well, you know what?
That's a good point.
If they're going to take our ideas, then it is time for us to give them our formal list of demands. So we do have a list of demands, but before we get there, the final evolution of Rogers the Musical was another jukebox musical, but using only music from Tower.
And we nailed it.
We did nail it. It's true. We also had some fun animations on this show, like high production quality over on Stark Radio. Oh man. The highlights from this episode, I did rewatch this one before we started the show tonight. Marissa wanted it to be very clearly known that if they were to do this approach, the songs had to fit his life. It could not be how his life fit within the songs. Which I
don't remember that, but great. I
thought it was a really good point. You made it a few times. Alexis's take was that Sour could be like a series of vignettes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds like something Alexis would say.
It was a good take. The problem with this album is that actually, no, I don't think this is a problem. I think this is perfect. But the idea with using Sour as the music is everything's about Bucky Barnes. It becomes a Bucky Barnes musical. And it, again, the delusional fan fiction of Bucky Barnes and Steve Rogers being husbands is really prevalent in this creation of Rogers, the Sour musical.
Can I pitch a change to this
Oh
musical?
my God.
Am I allowed to do that?
Use your 2 years of wisdom since we've done this,
Okay.
Alexis, and cast it upon this.
So I see that we have like some really important shit under this jealousy song, but I am really upset that past Alexis missed the opportunity to make that song about Steve and Alpine, like Steve being jealous of Alpine's place in Bucky's life. So I just want to throw that out as a major correction. Yeah.
Okay, listen. From my standpoint, approved. But let's let the audience decide this one. Please let us know in the comments now if this is an approved change to Rogers the Sour musical. Let's do a vote live on screen. I'm in favor.
Absolutely.
All right, audience, it is up to you. I think we got some hard eyes from Sylvan. Okay, we'll wait and see. I think JJ will be in on this. All the Alpines for this change, correct? All the Alpines have accessories. Hands are up. Yes. Okay, Alexis, approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other changes anyone would like to propose to Rogers the Sour musical, which may be our best version of Rogers the musical that we pitched?
No. I had a
Love
thought.
the dead air.
I had a thought also about jealousy, but I had to play the song in my head for a second and it doesn't work. It just, as Alexa started talking about it, I was like, well, why didn't we make it that moment in the first Avenger when Bucky's trying to flirt with Peggy and she like will not pay attention to him? But that doesn't make sense in the context of the song.
The really cool thing that we did with this, though, is a lot of our ideas were like, I feel like a deja vu. I can't believe we're having this conversation again. Like, I'm actually losing my mind. But we had this really interesting thought that there's so much story of Steve Rogers and so many different like lives that he lived that every song would kind of be from two perspectives almost. Like you would have like a bar scene with Steve and Peggy and a bar scene with Steve, Sam, and Bucky, right? So like every song is actually talking about a lot of different moments. So it's not like a thread, a chronological thread through Steve Rogers' life. It's like using the emotions of the lives he's lived to talk about who he is. And I actually think if you're going to do a one-act play about Steve Rogers like Disneyland wants to, this is a much smarter approach than doing Save the Fucking City.
Yeah.
Hear me out, though. Save the City is a fucking bop.
It's true.
Undeniable.
It's a long bop, though. It's a long bop
It is
for
a
a one-act
long bop.
musical, as Sly pointed out earlier. Like,
It's also a long bop in which nothing happens. It's just a lot of verses just like pointing things out in the city.
We did do an episode reading the lyrics of the song out. And just by the end of the song, Alexis, I think you had left the show by that point, but Marissa, Sly, and I were just dead-faced. Like, no more. There was nothing left to react to because the lyrics are that, like, dumbed down.
well, if it's a 60-minute one act, that's an if. If it's a 60-minute one act, Save the City is 1/12 of that show. Like, that's.
And it simply can't feel that long if it's 1/12 of the entire show. Like, it can't be.
Yeah.
So perhaps consider modeling. Okay, this is where we open our list of demands to Marvel. If you're going to steal our brilliant ideas, these are the ones that we demand you prioritize. We've come up with a few of them. My first, I think I might actually have a few demands based on this conversation. Let's just go around in a circle maybe twice and see how many we can get through. My first demand for Rogers the Musical, Disney, if you're listening, use Coney Island by Taylor Swift featuring the National as the opening number of the musical. It is a reflection into the past based in New York City. We know Coney Island means so much to Steve and Bucky. It works. There's even a part about cake, and you can get Bucky to walk out with a cake. It's
the Best pitch you've ever given. Oh my
I
God.
was just about to say, like, that may be the best thing that's happened on this show.
And we've done it. We're 3 for 3, Sly having the best episodes of their shows all in a row. I'll take it. Marissa,
Yes.
please give your first demand to Disney.
Okay. I know I'm in my delusional era, but this is a genuine demand that I actually need, or I will be upset and there will be hell to pay. Bucky, forgot his middle name for a second. James Buchanan Barnes needs to die on stage. He needs to fall off that train or there's no point. We're just gonna, like, okay, reading the casting list, there's no mention of a Bucky Barnes anywhere. There's no Winter Soldier. There's no Bucky Barnes. There's no Steve's best friend. And that just doesn't work for me. He is the motivator for the first Avenger. And if you don't get through the first Avenger, you don't get anywhere with Captain America.
He's the motivator for multiple movies, Marissa.
Legitimately all of his character motivation.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
But, like,
Captain America and the Winter Soldier the series.
But the
Civil
casting
War.
specifically implies that they're at least going to get through the first Avenger, and that is heavily reliant on Bucky Barnes, and he needs to die. I know you have the budget for a train on stage, Disney. I saw that Frozen Hyperion show. The Let It Go transition, you can do this, okay? Get me that train and get me that fall.
I
3 times a
really
day.
like the idea that Bucky falling from a train, like stories high in the air, and the Let It Go transition are the same to you.
Yeah. Are they not to you?
I mean, same amount of fly rig, probably.
They're equally important dramatic moments.
I think what we're doing
Yeah.
here is we are answering Disney's concerns before they can even voice them. So let's continue that as we continue going through our demands. Let's suss them out in full so that by the time Disney hears them, they know exactly how to approach it. Sly, please place your first demand on the table for Disney.
I think the one I have written down needs to be our final demand. But if you go back to my original fan casting for this musical, I did make the claim that we need to make Peggy deaf. I casted Sandra Mae Frank, who we all love and adore, and we're not big Peggy fans, understandably. But you know what would make me a Peggy fan? If they made her a deaf performer. So that's what I'm saying. I demand deaf Peggy for this one act.
Honestly, I'll approve that right here. Done. Disney, you have no choice. Alexis, your first demand.
I really need wacky inflatable dude, preferably of the green variety in this show. And the important piece here to me is, as previously discussed, this bit works best if you can hear the wacky inflatable dude inflate and it's on like a 15-second delay. So that there's just this big like noise as everyone waits to watch the inflatable dude become the inflatable dude. I think it would really improve the overall quality of this show. So I'm gonna need that. And it's not like it's that hard, right? Like if you can do a train, you can do a 15-second delay on a wacky inflatable guy. Again, preferably green.
1,000. I'm with you. 1,000%. I also like the contrast, right? You need really high budget, high production train, and you need 15-second delay wacky inflatable man. Like it's a scale.
It's a show for everybody. Okay.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. My second and final demand, based on this conversation, Disney, you must allow Coulson to sing "My Heart Will Go On." That is truly the best idea we have ever come up with on this show. And
Approved.
Okay, Sly's approved it. Perfect. I also think that I have to go back and rewatch the episode, but I'm sure we also talked about the set for this and that he was going to fly in the air, or there was some kind of element of height involved in that. So I'm going to go rewatch that episode again and figure out exactly how he pitched it. But I would really like you to prioritize that in your storytelling of Rogers the musical? Please. Marissa?
Yeah. My second and final demand is sort of a revisit to the rant I gave earlier about pushing back the theming for Avengers Campus past the Hyperion. It really should go all the way to Monsters, Inc. Because there's that merch store at the corner. Nobody cares. But I do think that the theming for Avengers Campus should continue beyond the Hyperion because it kind of just stops. It's weird. It's like there's Avengers Tower and then there's Guardians of the Galaxy, and then there's like a little food court where you can eat your Pym Kitchen meal, and then there's the Hyperion. So just like continue the theming past the Hyperion, make it part of Avengers Campus. Like I know we're getting a limited run for Rogers the Musical, but like what if it wasn't limited? What if it just like was always Avengers themed?
What if it was not limited and Rogers the Musical was a rotating jukebox musical featuring the latest and greatest pop albums of our time?
Wow.
Rogers the National Musical.
They can do Taylor's versions every time a new Taylor's version comes out. Listen, tell me that wouldn't make you money, Disney.
And it would work every time. It's a universal story.
This is beautiful. This is great. Sly, please place your second demand.
Oh, I want to save mine for the very, very last.
All right,
Okay.
Alexis, do you have a second demand to place?
I do, but it's a little bit of a hot take, so everybody's just going to have to
Please.
forgive me in advance. My demand is that this musical does not have the singing Captain America ladies. We lived through that era. Like they marched on Atlanta. I don't know how many times. They as a collective got very uppity and gatekeepy about some costume design that did not belong to them. And now that we're like playing with this idea that like that is how Steve lost his virginity, even though we know that is a lie, like I feel like including them in this show is just like feed for the less inclusive, less accepting community to be like, no, he's in love with Peggy Carter and he slept with a Captain America girl. So we just need to like X-nay that. Now, if you want to dress somebody in that costume and their sole purpose is the 15-second delay on my green inflatable guy, that is fine. But otherwise, not in this musical.
Thank you for bringing up one of the most important facts about the MCU, which is that Steve Rogers is a liar.
Thank you. Yes.
That's the first thing we establish about his character is he lied on multiple government forms.
So many. And then in
Which
Winter
is
Soldier, he has the
illegal.
audacity to be like, I'm always honest. That's a lie. He's literally lying to her. Sorry. This is not the point of this right now.
He's also lying with all the propaganda,
Mhm.
right? All these stories and things he has and has not done, right? He lies constantly about, like, even at the end of his life when he goes back to return the Infinity Stones, he comes back and he's like, JK, IOD, like, we
To
done.
quote myself many times on this show, end of the line, my ass.
That's a direct quote from when we were doing the...
Why haven't we put
Yeah.
that on a t-shirt yet?
Oh my God.
Where
Oh my
is
God,
the
it could be end of the
end
line, my ass, and then
my
like
ass?
America's ass.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Oh my God, I love it. Sly, bring us
Somebody
home with your
remind me
last
as
demand.
soon as we get off air, I'll knock it up.
Beautiful.
Our final demand as a collective, as ambassadors of We'll Throw the After Party, is that we have one very specific casting demand. One specific person who absolutely needs to be involved with this production. And it is our one and only Misa Bobisa. Misa Jar Jar needs to be cast in Rogers the Musical at the Hyperion.
Headshot
And-
resume available upon request.
Thank you. If this does not happen, we will riot.
Listen, this only happened because I just noticed that the casting submission was still open. And I was like, for the lulz, should I submit? It's open through tomorrow. So like, I've got 24 more hours. Maybe I will submit. You never know.
I'd like you to perform like 5 lines of dialogue that you would improvise in Rogers the Musical as your official pitch.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, how about just saying your name and why Disney should cast you?
Oh, I can slate for you. Absolutely. Okay. Marissa Longo, 5'4", and based in Chicago. And I believe that I should be in the cast of Rogers the Musical because I would do it better than you.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Done.
Well, I did that very much have, and I believe I should marry the Bachelor because energy.
Can I steal you for a sec? To Marissa going to Disney. Can I steal you for a sec to talk about the Hyperion and why the branding should extend?
The accuracy of that, Elizabeth, was frightening. Like, I am uncomfortable with how well that you pulled that off.
I've done some, wishing I was on The Bachelor vibes many times in my life.
I think we've all had that stage. Right?
Stage. It's only a stage.
I'm too ace for that shit. Thank you very much.
Let's come back to our
I just
Lord
thought
Year
the dresses were
2023.
pretty.
You muted yourself
I love how Liz
again.
muted in mid-conversation.
I didn't mean to. I don't know what
The
last
best show ever.
We're just gonna while we're
Yeah.
here, we're taking over. It's a hostile takeover, baby. Of course, we're talking about the one and only Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumainia, which is the full title. Apparently, some people
longest
did not know that.
movie.
Before we get into it, we're gonna give you a little can ASMR here.
Ooh.
There you go. All right.
Delicious.
Marissa, you and I, of course, have seen this movie. The other two have not. So while they're away, let's do a round of toasts.
Oh,
What would you like
sure.
to toast to?
Surely. This is immediately a spoiler. I would like to toast
Cheers.
to, where are you over here? I don't know.
Mhm.
My screen is mirrored.
There we go.
Immediately a spoiler, but I would like to toast to William Jackson Harper surviving the movie.
We love to see it.
I was going to have a very different opinion of it at the end if he didn't make it out.
And you're so valid for that. I did write in my notes.
I did see
right
that.
after. I said, was Bunky's guy? I couldn't even remember his name. Just Bunky's guy, the telepath? Question mark.
Yes, he was, and his name is William Jackson Harper.
We love to see it. He was great. We're here
Yeah.
for it. I am toasting cheers.
Cheers.
To Veb, my beloved. I love a funky little dude. He was so fun.
Yeah.
So shout out to Veb.
To Veb.
All right. That was great. This goes by a lot faster when it's just the two of us, huh? So of course it would not be a media analysis recap segment if we didn't have a little WTF moment. So just give me one gut reaction WTF moment overall from this film.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this is that neither of them are about the film and are instead about the title of the film.
Correct.
So my WTF moment of Quantumainia is, why does Quantumainia only have one M? Quantumainia. Quantumainia? Nobody says Quantumainia. Everyone is saying Quantum Mania. That should have two M's.
I'll tell you exactly why, because my WTF moment also has to do with the word
But you can have that with two
Quantumainia.
M's still.
At the very end, the end sequence of the movie where it says Ant Man and then it fades in the rest of the word
Yes.
and it's Qua Ant You Man Yeah. And I just realized that at the very end of the movie.
But it could have been Qua Ant Man Ia.
It could
Just
have.
put a double M.
But
I have
We
a
have
double letter in
strong
my name,
feelings.
so I'm a fan of a double letter.
All right. Speaking of some strong feelings, let's give our roses and thorns, our positives and our negatives. How we feeling just overall about this movie?
Mm-hmm. My rose is that it was a great Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see it. Notably, we got a cantina scene.
Yep.
You know, very important, integral. Yeah, strong
Rallying
Star
the
Wars
troops
vibe.
of the resistance. Everyone has different
Mhm.
abilities. They're coming from different places. Yeah.
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 I'm here for it. My rose for this week is movies for people who like bad movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a good movie either, but it's a movie designed for the kind of people who like bad movies. And notably, I am one of these people. I love a bad movie. I eat that shit up. I had a great time. It was a silly, goofy time this entire film, and everybody was talking shit about it. This is our like third Bunky shout out of this episode, but Bunky's in their hater era about this movie. We love to see it. But I had a blast because this was a movie designed for people who like bad movies.
Yeah. That is an undeniable fact.
I'm glad you're with me on this one.
Yeah, I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but the people that like it because it feels like a bad movie. It's just a silly, goofy time.
Exactly. And if that's not what you wanted out of this movie, I get being disappointed. But we'll get to it a little bit later. But like, I was in a place where I needed something less significant from Marvel. I didn't need we have to save the entire multiverse right now this second, or the world as we know it is gone. We have enough of that. I needed smaller scale, more focused, less existential. And we got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of bad movies, what really grinded your gears about this? What was your thorn?
Well, for a movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp, there were almost no ants and almost no wasp. I would make the argument that Janet Van Dyne is the Wasp in this Ant-Man and the Wasp, not Hope.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Hope, not a lot of Hope and not a lot of ants. And the device in which we got ants eventually
was choice.
Yep. I can't wait to spoil it.
Yeah, it'll be a great time.
Because the look of shock and horror on their faces, I can't wait.
It'll be great. My thorn is a little more punchy. The fact that Kang, who we knew was going to be a big, moving force of this movie from what we had previously seen set up, was horribly lit. Every single time he was on screen, his entire face was shadowed out. You could not see a single facial expression on this man the entire movie. He was on screen in multiple settings. He was on screen in multiple lighting situations, and they could not color correct for his skin tone for shit. And it drove me up a fucking wall because, I rely on facial expressions, mouth shapes for a lot of my physical communication skills. But also, it was just very telling, especially when he was right next to a very lighter skinned castmate that you could not see his face at all, and they were fully well lit. So yeah, that was my big gripe with this movie.
Yeah. There were a lot of in general technical wishy-washy bits, but it's been, publicly. Oh, can you still see me? My screen went
I can
black.
see you.
Great. My monitor went dark. But I'll just keep talking while I try and fix it. It's been said publicly a few times that they diverted resources from this film to Black Panther. And so you're gonna, I don't know.
Yeah. I see the JJ comment that has been brought up. That was the premise of the stakes of the movie.
Yeah.
But that's not the stakes we got. That
No.
was absolutely not the stakes we experienced.
We went in with the understanding that we were going to continue seeing Kang over and over and over again until we got to Kang Dynasty. So it's like,
yeah.
Even though that is what we were told the stakes were, it is not what the actual, it's not what it felt like, I guess.
Yeah, I'm right there.
Now let's spoil the movie.
Let's spoil the movie. We're back. We've been listening to your discussion. Very confused, obviously. We're kind of going all over the place. And that's because Alexis and Liz have not seen this movie. So first.
Liz, I would like you to take a what the fuck moment of the week and explain why you have not seen the movie.
That's a good call. Let me dig in for all of you here. So I've talked extensively on this show about how my photosensitivity, including strobe lights, including camera effects where you're like really drastically switching angles, really prevent me from seeing movies in general. It means I oftentimes wait until a movie is available to watch from home, or I find a way to watch it from home so I can watch it like on a smaller screen and with lighting and things that make me able to more appropriately see movies and manage them so I don't get migraines for like 3 or 4 days at a time. And ever since The Incredibles 2 came out, when they did not have a flashing lights warning on the movie, and we went on like the Thursday night premiere, I now do not see big action movies on their premiere night. I wait until people have seen it, and then I check the accessibility notes before I go see a movie. And I very luckily had many friends this time that immediately texted me having seen this movie and said, Liz, don't see Ant-Man. Do not go see this movie unless you are going to be on your prescription drugs and like willing to take the gamble. And with my work life right now, no way was I willing to take the gamble. There's too much going on for me to be out for 3 to 4 days. So I am sitting this one out until it's available to watch from home. And even then, I'm not sure if I will be seeing it. And I just think it sucks that people get excluded from movie-going experiences for the sake of effects that maybe are not always needed. Are there other ways to create drama that don't involve special effects? I think so, but Marvel seems to disagree with me.
I will say, I took a motion sickness med right before it started, and I was fine. I didn't have any adverse effects, but I did have prior warning on 2 flashing light sequences that I just covered the whole time through. And then I wrote down 2 more big flashy light sequences. So if you are like us and get photosensitive triggered migraines but want to see this movie, I do have some dialogue quotes written down. If you DM me, I will send you those lines that set up the flash sequences, because
and you very lovingly also sent them to me, and at that point I was like, this is too many things, right? Like if a movie has that many sequences that I am just not going to be able to watch at all, like my very loving partner ends up dictating to me when I'm missing, so I like know what's happening in the plot. So when I'm watching it again, I'm not like, wait, what happened to that person? They died 5 minutes ago? Like what? And that also sucks, and it sucks for everyone else in the movie theater having to listen to someone dictate like this is what's happening that you can't see. So yeah, there's too many points that seem pivotal in this movie that I would just not be able to watch at all. So instead, we thought, what if we commoditized it and turned it into a bit on the show? If you've seen our host takeovers, you know that we've had a lot of fun explaining plot points to one another and reacting in real time. And Alexis, you also have not seen this movie. And you also do not mind being spoiled for the fun of the show and the general public. So I will admit, we didn't exactly plan this out, but Alexis, I don't know if you have had any spoilers for the movie. I only know one thing.
I have not had any spoilers. No, like I watched like a little bit of like a clip, but other than that.
Literally the only thing I know about this movie is that MODOK's in it. That is the
Oh,
only
I didn't
thing
even
I
know that.
Sure.
Okay,
That's-
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I would request that Sly finds an image of Veb and MODOK.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think those are just
Who?
things that people need to visualize.
Veb, I have a very handy picture of from the tweet that you put in the show doc, but I will find a
great.
picture of MODOK, because I will say the MODOK reveal,
It's a lot.
pretty solid.
We are MODOK fans in this household. Like when MODOK was airing on Disney Plus, we were so invested in that show, and literally the entire internet decided they hated it. So we enjoyed that in isolation over here.
I will be very interested to see how you feel about this version of MODOK.
Well, tell me about it. What, Marissa?
All right,
What the fuck happens in this movie? Let us know.
here we go. So, the movie begins in the quantum realm with Janet Van Dyne. We've got a flashback moment, and she encounters a lost traveler. Who could it be? It's Kang, but she doesn't know what that means. Crash forward, San Francisco, modern day. Scott Lang's life is amazing. He's so happy with Hope and Hank and Janet, and he has a book, and all the shop, like coffee shop guys love him. He's so popular. Life is going great. He gets lunch with Jimmy Woo. Then at some family dinner moment, I don't really remember or care, Cassie is like, oh, also Cassie got arrested at one point. That's not super relevant. Cassie's like, oh yeah, Hank and I built a quantum beam that is sending a message to the quantum realm. And Janet freaks out. She's like, you can't do that. You don't know what's going on there. You're sending a message down there? Whoa! And it becomes this whole thing. Then I don't remember if they're just like, oh yeah, this is the quantum beam that we made. Or if it turns on its own. I don't know.
It like gets frizzled, whatever.
I think it turns
That
on
shit
its
happens.
own. It's like a return message. And they get sucked into the quantum realm. Everyone gets sucked in. Also relevant, there are ants, and they are extremely intelligent and well-trained. Then they get to the quantum realm, and they are separated. So it's Cassie and Scott, and then Hope, Hank, and Janet are together, I think. And then I'm not reading this off of Wikipedia. What would make you think that? Hope, Janet, and Hank, because Janet is like the ruler. She's not, but she's like spent 30 years in the quantum realm, so she like knows the lay of the land. She's like, because they're separated, she's like, oh, I know who to ask to find Scott and Cassie. Lord Krylar. Cue Cantina moment. He shows up. He was an ally of Janet's at one point. He was like some progressive revolutionary who like is now a senator and works for Kang, who is
Wait, sorry. Wait.
Mhm.
There's government in the quantum realm?
Yeah, there's a whole.
I cannot
whole
stress you
hierarchy.
enough, Liz, how much this is Star Wars. Just imagine within the MCU, the quantum realm is Star Wars.
Okay. And like the same kind of definition of senators.
Mm.
What do
I don't
they
know that that's what he
represent?
actually is, but he's like some influential
But is the
government
quantum
person.
realm is the quantum realm functioning like quantum physics? Like, is it very tiny? Or is it just, so it's
Mhm.
very tiny Star Wars?
subatomic?
It's subatomic, but like once you get that small, the whole world is huge, and there's a bunch of like biomes and areas that are all different.
It's like
and time is weird
tardigrades
and funky, and everybody
So-
who's there is like their like planets have been destroyed and they just ended up in the quantum realm somehow. We
So
don't
it's like
know how.
Polly Pocket Star Wars.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in. But wait, I have a question. Who are the senators representing? Different.
They work
Naboo.
for Kang.
They work for Kang. So I think he's
So
more
he's
like a
puppet
governor than a
master,
senator.
and they're like outdoing his bidding.
yeah.
Understood. I
Yeah.
was thinking a democratically elected quantum realm. But this makes
No.
I'm very understanding now. Please continue.
No. Yes. So within the 30 years since, exiled traveler Kang showed up with Janet, he has become the ruler of the quantum realm. And so
I'm sorry, can I pause for
Please.
a minute here?
Please.
Liz, I do need you to pick a single Twilight picture that is saved in our brand kit to be deleted so I can upload my final image.
How dare you ask that at me? But at least you didn't ask me to delete a Timothy Chalamet picture. Let's get rid of some baseball imagery. There you are. Although I am gonna keep this one. I'm so glad we had a Twilight intermission in this. Please continue.
Okay. So Lord Krylar, former ally of Janet's, he's like, oh yeah, I'll help you find Cassie and Scott. Just kidding.
Meanwhile, Cassie and Scott are being kidnapped by people who are all chanting and talking at them, and they don't understand. And Cassie drinks the juice, and then
Giving
she's big.
Ewoks.
Yeah, it's giving Ewoks. She's surrounded by them, and then Scott shows up, and Cassie is like, drink the juice, and Scott is like, WTF are you talking about? What's going on? And then they force feed him the juice from Veb, my beloved. And once
Wait.
consume
This is your
Veb-
beloved?
Yes, this is Veb. Once you consume part of Veb, then everybody speaks common. Like everybody understands each other. This is how they communicate.
No, I'm
with
out.
everybody.
I'm out.
It's like the
I'm
TARDIS.
done.
This is like 20 minutes in. Actually,
We
I
love
don't even
Veb.
know if it's 20
We
minutes
stand
in.
Veb in this household.
But it's kind of like everybody is like a cannibal of Veb. Is it not? Like that's what this is.
Veb regenerates, and Veb is fascinated by other people having holes
Mhm.
because he is a gelatinous ooze
No,
and does not have holes.
I can love a Jello mold as much as the next person and still not be down for this storyline.
I love him.
So this is where it gets a little wishy-washy for me. So I have to read Wikipedia
This
quickly.
is where
Oh, also in the Veb situation,
I think I was there maybe 10 minutes ago, but please continue.
In the Veb situation is where we meet William Jackson Harper, whose character name I don't remember. He's a telepath.
The
That-
telepath dude.
Wait, who? What?
He's Chidi Ngoonye from The Good Place. It doesn't really matter if you don't know who he is.
I heard this is where we meet William Shatner.
Oh no!
So,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah,
hell?
that's the energy.
Continue.
No.
My apologies.
Just for those who care, Liz, this is where we meet him. He's a telepath. That's how the group decides to trust Scott and Cassie, because he could hear their thoughts and know that they weren't a threat or sent by Kang. Moving on.
Are people hiding from Kang?
Yes.
Okay.
They are
It's very
hiding from
much
Kang.
giving resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they're warned by like the leader of the resistance that Janet's past like life with Kang will mean that they're being hunted by Kang, and so they're in danger. And would you know what happens? They get attacked by Kang, but it's not Kang, it's a proxy for Kang. And who would that proxy be, Sly?
MODOK.
Applause.
Hold on, we need to see Liz's face.
Bring him back. Bring him back to me.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. But
But
Are
not
you ready?
only is it MODOK.
not only is it MODOK,
Show Liz.
Why is it giving?
Yep.
Why does it have the same energy as the thumbs from Spy Kids?
Absolutely.
If you are facially blind like me, yes, that is the dude that attacks Cassie in the first movie.
He didn't die. He just got sucked into the quantum realm, everyone. That's Darren Cross, also known as Yellow Jacket.
I think we need to make Liz big again. Oh. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Speak your truth. There's nothing to say.
No thoughts.
There's
Just
no truth here.
I have to say, there are some things that we've done on this show where we've caught live reactions, and I've been like, thank the Lord. Like, I must have done something good in my life for us to have caught that reaction. Like, it's like, Marissa and I like sobbing over like Taylor Swift releases. And I think that is up there with the reaction Liz just gave.
So
it's a good one.
No. Stop.
Like all too well 10-minute version, Liz's reaction to MODOK, same.
Why isn't he purple?
because he's a human being.
That's the question.
Very big head, very tiny body.
Bring him back to me. Put him back up.
No.
Please. I'm so startled.
You see a whole lot more of him in the movie.
We can't see, we don't get to see feetsies in this picture, but he does have
tiny legs.
little tiny feetsies.
Okay. And how does he first appear on screen? Is it the gold helmet or the face?
It's the helmet first,
And
and
then
then it's a reveal.
So the face is a jump scare.
Yeah,
And they all know immediately who it is.
yeah.
And
They're
Cassie's
like,
like,
Darren?
"Is the dude who
That's the guy who attacked me in my bedroom when I was 6.
I've got to say, I also am a facially blind person. That being said, if I went to Polly Pocket Naboo
Yeah.
and Liz was there, but her face was the size of a Jumbotron and she had tiny feetsies, I don't know that I would know it was Liz. Like, I would be like, the hell?
He's also, of all of the, like, if you had put, like, hold on, I need to think of a good example of this. One moment, please. 1 second.
What is the headpiece? Is that like an Infinity Stone situation? Or is
It's
that
like-
just like...
Part of his suit thing, it like makes him float.
It's how he like controls the things
It's a
around
lot.
him.
It's like armature, basically.
If you're gonna make, I understand that they cast him years ago. Okay, I get it. But if you're gonna pick a white man to do that to, make it someone who is undeniably that white man. Like, make it Nick Offerman with that mustache, or like
Danny DeVito. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like just make it a person that is so undeniably them, even if the face is stretched and you lose the body.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's
Then
move
the,
past this.
Bit about him for the rest of the movie is that everybody calls him Darren, but he's like, it's MODOK. Because like Kang saved him and gave him this new armature and like whatever, and MODOK is a acronym. I don't really care to explain it any further than that. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Then basically the rest of the movie is Janet explaining what happened while she was in the quantum realm, because everyone else was like, holy shit, there are other people here and like a civilization and life, and you have like secret
And everybody
mysteries.
is freaking out when they hear your name or see you because you're like a very well-known person here and you haven't told us any of that. Like the common theme is she came back from the quantum realm with PTSD and did not talk about it with anybody, and now they're in the quantum realm and she's having to like reveal all of her trauma. That's basically the gist of this movie.
Yeah, and they're just like,
so it's Star Wars.
it's
Yeah,
Star Wars. They're just running from Kang while Janet is explaining the last 30 years of her life in which she befriended and then betrayed Kang.
So are we getting into why she betrayed Kang?
Yeah, I think we've hit there's no more chronology at this point.
Basically, she meets Kang. He's stranded there too. He's like, "You're smart, help me fix my ship." And she's like, "Okay, I guess I'll do that. We're out here together." And she like fixes the ship, and then the like modem force generator or whatever the fuck it is reactivates.
yeah.
She touches it, and because it's like psychically linked with Kang, she sees like all of his horror and destruction that he's caused over the course of like his like this one Kang's like life or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Fuck that shit," and blows up the generator. So his ship is now unusable, and now it's this like giganto energy swirling mess.
Yeah.
And so Kang is like, "Hey, you want your daughter free, Scott?
Yeah.
You're gonna go shrink that and get it back for me." Meanwhile, everybody on the ground is doing very much like Hope resistance. We're gonna take down Kang assembly. Very much, it's giving Star Wars.
It's giving Star Wars.
That, in fact, is the plot of Star Trek 2016.
Oh,
okay.
Beat for
Great.
beat.
The whole thing about Kang is, if you remember from Loki, he like lives every moment in every timeline. He's everything everywhere all at once. And his ship is like multiversal. His whole deal to like Janet in the past is like, "I can take you back to your daughter. You'll have never left. We can go to any timeline and blah blah blah." It's like, because her whole thing is like, "I left Hope. I told her I would be right back, blah, blah, blah." So he just exploits her trauma. And then, yeah, she destroys his chances of leaving. And then, yes, again, he exploits Scott's trauma and captures Cassie and is like, "You're going to do this thing for me." And Scott's like, "Okay, guess what? Deal does not remain a deal." And then they do it again. They blow up the core, like they make the core giant again.
They get the core, and then shocker, Kang goes back on his word. And Scott and Hope are like, "Well, fuck, now we got to destroy the core again." And then Cassie takes control of like the projection to the like entire like city.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
the like, the Darth Vader
Mm-hmm.
to my empire.
We get a Darth Vader to my empire speech, and then Cassie hijacks it and gives a raw, like, very like inspirational. We're gonna like this
Like
is your
the
time
Hunger
for
Games,
revolution.
when Katniss is doing
Yes,
the bit, and then she's like,
exactly.
yeah. Now, so we've now
That's
covered
exactly it.
Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
Star Trek, and Hunger Games. They really said, let's take every major franchise. When does Harry Potter defeat Voldemort?
We do get the trippy trying to figure out which one's the real Scott and Hope while they're like going towards the quantum force.
Yeah, we do get a Deathly Hallows
giant-
Part 1 multi-Harrys situation because like there's a rift in I don't know. It's like every option they could have because it's the multi
every possibility manifests
everything everywhere
at the
all at
same time.
once.
There's a million Scotts, and one of them says Cassie, and then they all rally for Cassie because it's like the one thing that unites them, and they lift up like the one true Scott to like do the thing. It's a moment.
So how do we wrap this thing up with a bow? What is our conclusion?
I literally did not remember what actually happens to Kang.
It's the final battle.
Okay, Janet fixes the power core as she, Pym, Hope, and Cassie jump through a portal home. But Kang attacks Scott, and then they punch. Hope goes back into the quantum realm with Scott to again destroy the power core with a combination of Pym particles and punch to Kang again, which apparently, I don't remember this, pulled him into oblivion. Cassie then reopens the portal. There's a moment where you're like, they're never getting out. They're going to be stuck there forever. Just kidding. They go back home. And Scott happily resumes his life. He begins
We missed the best part of the final battle, is as the whole revolution force storms the like bridges or whatever, Veb, my beloved, gets shot a bunch of times, and he gets to experience having holes, and it's this huge, like, triumphant moment. He has holes, and it's beautiful, and I wept. Sorry, I tried to get through that with this.
You wept through Swiss cheese Jello mold. That was the emotional high of this film.
Alexis,
Jello.
there is no emotional high of this film. There is no emotion.
It was for me. Veb was the emotional high for me.
I am just in my head, even though I keep trying not to. It's like a running list of all of the times I have experienced you refer to somebody as my beloved. And right now it's like, May, Jennifer Love Hewitt, this Jello mold. I'm like, the fuck? I don't know what that word means anymore.
I love a funky little dude.
Does he die?
No.
Who? Veb?
No one dies.
Nobody dies.
No one dies?
No one dies.
Well, that's
Kang
not
is
true.
pulled into oblivion.
In the final battle, we lose some like revolution fighters that were nameless.
Yeah.
And it's very dramatic and sad. But like we knew they were gonna die because they were nameless, just forces.
Okay, so I'm confused, and I'm gonna be really honest. When you all were kind of having this conversation before, I had to like go do stuff, so I wasn't here. What are the stakes of this film?
I would like to emphasize I also need this question answered.
Okay.
Like,
well, number one, there are no stakes because it's like Kang's second appearance of like 25 more before we get to Kang Dynasty. So we know that a lot more has to happen before it's an Avengers level threat. But within the conceit of the movie, the stakes are his ship getting repaired and him escaping the quantum realm.
However,
and the little Jello guy becoming Swiss cheese,
which is actually what he wanted.
Which is what he wanted. He was very happy about the whole acquisition.
Yeah.
But this
inhaler moment.
But in general,
can't take my inhaler again. I just took it.
Of this movie are this Kang trying to get out. They destroy his ability to get out, and he gets poofed out of being able to be perceived. And then the real shit happens. And they assemble the council of Kangs. All the big bad nasty Kangs come together, and they're like, ooh, that scary dude that we exiled, he's now off the radar. Now we're gonna go take over all
and
the
then
shit.
There's like 2,000 Jonathan Majors like in like an arena, all in different outfits. Some have very weird hair choices. It's a lot.
We get the Egyptian dude talking, bunch of
Some
different
of them have different accents.
things. Yeah.
Wait, which Egyptian dude?
An Egyptian
like
king.
An Egyptian dude.
Yeah.
What's the disappointment? Is there an Egyptian character we're waiting to see?
No, but there's one I kind of enjoyed.
Are you gonna get on a high horse about Khonshu again?
No. Why would you think that? That would be ridiculous.
Why would not be the person to describe Khonshu as the Egyptian dude, though. Let's
No,
be real.
I would say Khonshu, my beloved.
There it is.
On my bingo card of what was going to happen on tonight's show, it was not that reference.
Everyone is either my beloved or my beloved, or I don't care enough to give you a qualifier. That's the scale.
So basically,
Sorry, revolutionaries, you lost out to the Jello mold.
He was one of the revolutionaries.
he was.
Okay, so I'd like to ask a question.
Please,
Who was the Poe Dameron of this film?
Cassie. I think Cassie.
The leader
If Scott is the
lady
Rey,
who
oh no,
who like revolution or like brought together the ground forces.
her name is Gentora.
Gentora. I was so off. That was my first thought, but I'm with you on the Cassie.
I would say
Mhm.
Cassie.
Yeah.
She gets like captured and imprisoned several times. She has to use her wit and her also important part, like Cassie becomes stature in the course of the movie. She has a secret suit. It's
Oh, she becomes like
She has a suit. It's one of the conversation points at the dinner post her getting bailed out of jail, where we discover this is not the first time she was in
before
jail.
they go to the quantum
She makes
realm.
a comment about we and suits, and Scott's like, "You have a suit?" And she's like, "No, I don't have a suit." And then they get to the quantum realm, and they're in this big fight, and she does the thing and has a suit, and he's like, "Oh my god, you have a suit. Who gave you a suit?" Yeah. And it turns out that Hope and what's his face were conspiring with Cassie about science stuff and Ant-Man stuff and saving the world stuff, as Scott's just going through his life like post huge battle and just trying to regain a sense of his humanity. And Cassie's like, "You should be doing more. There are people who need your help."
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing, is like Scott doesn't want to like be the hero all the time anymore. He like just wants to keep his little family safe, which like valid. But Cassie is like this like political revolutionary now who like keeps getting arrested for going to protests and against the GRC, which is correct. But yeah, it's like the whole motivator between Scott and Cassie's relationship is like, Dad, be the hero. And like, he is the hero by the end of it. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, there are ants, but like truly inconsequential.
We didn't talk about the whole ants of it all.
The
ants. You know what? It's fine. Let's leave it there.
I just want to give you one sentence about the ants,
then
I will tell you the Rotten Tomatoes score of this film, and then we will be done.
All right.
The ants get secretly sucked into the quantum beam thing with the rest of them, rapidly evolve, become giant, and then lead the revolution with Hank Pym riding their back. This movie has a 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. The end.
Okay, I have an important question though, because I have been waiting for these ants to get accessories since the first Ant-Man movie. Have we gotten any sort of accessory yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
They get
Awesome.
giant. They get technologically advanced. They pass human intelligence. They get little accessories. They're decked out.
Okay.
The movie has been redeemed for Alexis. We lost Alexis at the Jello Blob Swiss cheese. We regained Alexis with ants have accessories.
Right. In my head, though, I'm imagining the like Will Robinson spiders from Lost in Space, but like with helmets. So I don't know if it will meet my high expectations.
I would say they have like adventurer harnesses.
Yeah.
Okay. We
Like-
love a harness.
They have like Jungle Cruise type outfits.
All right.
I love this show.
Let's talk about some themes from this movie.
Yeah.
Because shockingly, this movie does have some poignant themes we can discuss. First off, stories within a universe that can stand alone. Did this movie have any impact on the wider MCU as a whole? No, it doesn't.
Nope.
They're just kind of vibing.
It was purely exposition, and the most important parts were the 2 post credits.
Which were already previously seen, basically, in a TV show. I'm sure you could guess which one.
Yep. It's
So,
like a teaser for maybe a season 2, I would say.
But I would say in a franchise that really struggles to find those stories,
This
They
is not the
found-
best one.
they found
They
one.
found one.
They found one.
They found one.
Maybe not the strongest opener for phase 5, but they succeeded at something.
What they also succeeded at was telling a story of hope and resistance in a movie that's deeply inconsequential to the surrounding universe. And I say to its benefit, I think that telling this story of like power and overthrowing this big bad and having it mean nothing is good. I like that. I love a Rogue One. Like, it really did it for me.
It is very Rogue One. That's a great point.
I would just like to say that Rogue One,
Not
in
okay.
Liz's world, and I know this is not an opinion that's shared across all fandoms, but we love Rogue One.
I don't
fucking
mean to
adore
say
Rogue One.
it's Rogue One in quality. It's Rogue One in its impact on the broader universe. Like,
Yeah.
it is setting a lot up for things that will be important later on
I'll take
within
it.
a contained
take it.
story that like means something to that movie and not much more.
Exactly. Yeah. It is very self-contained. It's very impactful within its scope, but to the broader, universe, the broader experience, didn't really change much, didn't really do
No.
much. It's just very concentrated in its storytelling.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
All right. And then just one thing I wanted to open up to all of you is like, how do we feel about over the course of the MCU? How much individual projects have stakes within themselves and how much stakes they have to their respective phases writ large? Like, how are we feeling about that transition over time, the trying to find a balance between, an Ant-Man 1 versus an Endgame type projects?
I feel like I just swoop immediately. I feel like because it opened up so broadly towards the end of the Infinity Saga and then sort of like wrapping up the loose ends after the Infinity Saga, people are used to a lot more connective tissue weaved throughout that will see immediate impact on whatever comes next. So I think there was a moment in the MCU where this kind of movie felt more familiar within the like building stakes. But because they've kind of, mapped so large and are taking a step back from that or like scaling
How
back
to
down.
scale back.
Yeah, it's feeling like, I don't know.
Wishy-washy.
Been saying that a lot.
I think that there's like listening to you guys talk about this movie has made me think that there's just like a fundamental problem in how Marvel established a norm that everything exists at once And now they're trying to re-silo all of their heroes into their own stories after they did such a fabulous job establishing that it's not just any one person's story, it's everyone's story. And that's why I think movies like this, not that I have seen this movie, but just like listening to it, like this sounds like it does work because it is in its own plane of existence that nobody else could interfere with. But you could argue Loki could because he's a part of this whole Kang story at this point. But like I think this is a different take on like your question about like the stakes of the MCU in general right now. But I think these movies would be more successful if they did more pairing and more just like it doesn't have to be Avengers, but maybe the stories can't be like just Thor or just the Eternals or just anyone with like a surprise cameo. Like I think Ragnarok kind of did it well when they had the Doctor Strange bit of like, why are you back here? Like, okay, on your way. And it's like, oh, see how they all exist within the same universe? Like, see how they can like coexist and have these like points together and it feels kind of natural and then they continue on their way. So like the next series of movies that we see, like there's not a lot of points in time when it's like being publicly advertised that like these 4 people are together or these 3 people are together, or like it's only people that have been within their own silos. That I don't know if that's still to like the stakes benefit, because you're only setting up all the individual stakes that need to be like woven back up together versus saying like let's have 4 stories and like this combination of people will be involved in each of these stories and then they funnel back up. I don't know though. Like that was part of what was so exciting about Captain America and the Winter Soldier was it was like, you know, putting these characters and like bringing them together to a place where they can move forward together. I don't know. Go ahead.
I was going to riff off that. I was going to say what I'm hearing is you want more reluctant partners a la the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Shove 2 people together who have a conflict. Make them work together. I think that would be great. I would love to see more stories like that.
Yeah. Alexis, what do you think?
I think it was always going to be hard when you have like an end game and that's the end of essentially an era. That's the first time where you've made some choices that you're not going to reverse. It was always going to be hard for them to maintain that same level of stakes afterwards. My counterpoint would be that I think there are different types of stakes that could have that level. Like I think there are personal stories where the interpersonal stakes could be like end game level stakes, and that Marvel is just not taking as much advantage as they should of those types of stakes. And something we talked a lot about in the first phase of like Disney plus Marvel projects was we felt like we were getting kind of the same story, like they were doing the same type of show, the same type of story over and over again, right? Which is why we were excited about things like Miss Marvel that felt different. And I think they're kind of running into the same problem here, where it's like they don't know how to tell more than one type of story consistently, and they don't know how to play with stakes that are not other creature destroys the universe type of stakes. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those are my
for sure. Trying to get more diversity in like the types of stakes of stories, also really embracing, you know, we've seen them dip their toes into various genres, but if they really commit to the bit and like dive deep into tropes of different types of genres, I think they could find a lot of success there, pairing those with, you know, a really strong emotional stakes moment with a genre that best serves that story. I think we could see a lot more powerful stories out of this franchise that, I mean, I'd love to see, but I just don't think we're ever going to get from Marvel as a whole.
And that's valid, right? Like I think that Marvel like has so much ground they need to catch up on. And also I need to remember myself sometimes as a fan, like this is what Marvel does. They're not going to do everything. They're not going to establish and overcome things the same way as other big franchises like Star Wars do, or Harry Potter, or the Hunger Games, or like whatever. They are their own entity, but within what they've defined as their scope of what they're capable of. Like there's so much room for improvement. And within what they've tried to project that they want their scope to be, there's a lot that they need to perfect before we're getting to Kang Dynasty or like any checkpoint before that. Interesting time to be a Marvel fan. I'm so glad that we got to unpack Ant-Man together and with all of you. And if you want to talk more about Ant-Man, come into the comments, and hello to all of our replayers who are hanging out with us this week. Let us know what you thought in the comments of this film, because we're always reading the comments back and the live chat back after the show. And with that, let's flip to our new favorite Marvel property, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We talked about this last week on the show, and Alexis, you weren't here. And this is kind of your bread and butter. So we wanted to pass the floor over to you. Catch us up on what you're thinking about this incredible new show. And then we'll come back and chime in with some of our thoughts from last week.
Overall, I really agreed with everything that you all had to say last week. I think it's a really fun and exciting show. It's so colorful. The animation I really enjoyed. I don't know much about animation like on a technical level, but I enjoyed it. It looked pretty to me. And I was very excited, particularly, I think Marissa talked about it, but about the hair animation and like how they treated that. That was really great. I loved Devil Dinosaur. I was kind of worried about how they were going to interpret that character on the show, because he has a complicated backstory in the comics. And, you know, like I think the way that he's utilized in the Moon Girl comic specifically works very well in like a panel by panel format. So I was interested in how they were going to do that on the show. I think they did really well. I think the only thing that kind of struck me a little bit was that it is a great departure from the comic. And I don't mean that technically so much as I mean like tonally different. So there are two things here for me. One is the rationale that Disney has put forth, which I do have a problem with. And that rationale was that they could change Moon Girl because Moon Girl was a newer character, and they would have difficulty changing something like Spider-Man because people would be uncomfortable with those changes. I think the other thing that you're neglecting, or they're neglecting to kind of recognize there, is that one of those characters is historically white and one of them is not historically white. And so like a character like Lunella, especially in the Marvel universe, is going to be newer because they did not allow those characters to be represented in the beginning of Marvel's history. So I think it is kind of a cop-out to say, well, we could make changes here, but we can't with the white male characters. I think that's bullshit. I do think some of the changes that they made, especially in tone and like color, work much better for her story. One of the criticisms of Moon Girl over time has been that because different writers and artists work on that comic, there are times that it appears to be a very white story. And I think the way that the show has chosen to visualize it kind of departs it from like a typical white story, which I think is fantastic. I think the one thing that was a little disconcerting for me is that in the comics, you know, Lunella is a bit of an outcast. It's a very big part of her story. None of her friends like her, or none of her classmates like her. You know, she gets the name Moon Girl because they are picking on her, and that is like a tease. She is very coded to be kind of the introverted autistic. And those were all things that as an introverted autistic, like I connected to, right? So I don't like bemoan them changing the story to a version that is going to be more appealing for a wider audience and probably a little less difficult to articulate in this format, right? Like I don't know that you necessarily want to handle all of the like nuances of like bullying and being outcasted like in a show designed for children's media. I do wish at some point a show would, because I think it's just as important for children to recognize that like they're like people can also be outcast. Like that is a story that they can relate to, that there are people like them. So I don't really, like, I can't be mad at them for it. But it was a little disconcerting for me because I was like, oh, those were kind of the parts of the story that I identified with. And I'm happy to give that up so that more people can identify with her. But
I think it goes back to a problem we call out regularly with Marvel, where they just choose, for whatever rationale they have, to erase pieces of identity for the sake of shipping a show with a level of representation. They're like, okay, well, if we're gonna make this character represent this story, that means that they are unable to represent any other story, when that's just like not representative of how anything in society works. Like, people contain multitudes. You can come from multiple communities that have different stories and different challenges and different barriers to access. Like, it is possible to be a woman of color and be autistic and be introverted and in this world specifically be a superhero. Like, that is a person that could exist, but instead they say, we'll take like 2 of the 4 and that's what we'll ship on this show. So, and I think that like we talked about that with Miss Marvel and choices that were made with Miss Marvel. We've talked about that with like other, like Moon Knight. Like, we felt like pieces of those stories were being erased in how they did Moon Knight. Like, it's just a regular pattern. And it's not to say that I think anyone agrees with it, but I'm like so not surprised, especially in a children's show format, that they were like, take the most palatable pieces and like go with that. It is, I will say, I'll give them credit for the way they staffed behind the scenes for the representation they did want to show on screen.
Yes.
Like, they have amazing artists that are Black, that are from Lower East Side and from New York and understand like the community and the culture of this family. But it's to your point also that like there were other pieces of Moon Girl that could have been brought into the show and they just said, no, that's not what the story that we're telling here. Anyone want to chime in on that?
You did it. You got it.
Yeah, you said all the
Checkbox.
things.
I've spoken for all of us. How great is that for time? Alexis, I know that you were also the dinosaur captain on this team. If anyone loves a dinosaur, it's Alexis. And I like this photo that we've chosen for your background this evening. If you move out of the way, he's getting his teeth brushed. That's great. In terms of the representation of, I know he's not a pet, but in terms of the representation of animals in the MCU, of pets in the MCU, Devil Dinosaur, how do we stack up Devil Dinosaur next to some of the other folks like Alpine that we want to see?
yeah, that's a hard question. Nobody is going to move over Alpine for me. We are a pro dinosaur household. We are typically an anti T-Rex household. So Devil Dinosaur here is a little bit of a novelty, I guess, for us. But I will say that there were times when I was writing my notes for the first half of the season that I was like, no, this dinosaur seems very autistic. Like, this dinosaur has sensory problems. He likes one type of food. He's misunderstood. Sometimes he's good with communication. Sometimes he's not, right? So I think that would put him at like a number 2 slot for me. So I think we would have like Alpine, Devil Dinosaur, and we would have like Lucky, and then we would just have like the phrase like alligator Loki, but like not the actual alligator.
And then
I'm not
maybe
here for the goose erasure on this list of pets in the MCU.
Oh my god. Always forgotten. Never appreciated.
I have issues with orange space cats, but yeah, we'll put Goose up there. So we'll do like Alpine, Devil Dinosaur, I don't know, Goose, Lucky, alligator Loki, ants with accessories. Am I missing anybody? There was like a goldfish somewhere, right?
Yelena's dog. Yelena has a dog.
Yeah.
Yelena has a dog,
Fanny.
and then the Moon Knight goldfish.
Yeah, the Moonlight Goldfish.
Moonlight Goldfish.
Yeah.
ranks pretty low for me, to be honest. The goldfish.
Well, if it was Conchu's goldfish, I would feel differently. But as it is not, we're gonna put it at the bottom of the list. And goldfish, have very short lifespans. So it was probably,
Wow. In and
by
out.
the time I created the list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
really quickly, let's talk about some of what we love and maybe we don't love so much about Moon Girl from the episodes that we've watched. We did some roses and thorns last week. Let's do another round of them and include Alexis. Let's start with our roses, and we'll go quickly so we can. This show did not wrap on time, as I promised, but people will have to think in the comments of what they would like me to do. Do you want me to make another public apology for not ending the show on time, or are we happy this has happened? Y'all have to let me know.
Liz promises a lot of public apologies I never see.
Liz
I
does
would
not
just like to put that on the
She
record.
loves to say no tap apology coming soon. And it's
Where?
still
I've been waiting.
soon.
The same amount of time Sly has been waiting for Liz to watch Lone Star, I have been waiting for some of these no tap apologies.
Soon mean, really.
It's a slippery
Truly.
slope to 5 years later we'll get a no tap apology.
Mhm. Mhm.
Listen, I'll work on it. Okay. Maybe I'll have to do one notes app apology to rule them all with everything I've
All
ever
of the
promised.
bullet points.
A bullet point notes app apology. I'll have to rewatch every episode of our show to figure out how many times. Maybe I can get like a bot to like rewatch and flag every time we've said notes app apology.
And remember, we need acknowledgement, apology, action for all of them.
Yep.
Mhm.
Understood. So
Every
the
single
action
one.
needs to come from the community. Like, how do I, I feel like Liz should do a weekly apology series like Alexis. Yeah, I can listen. We can add it as a segment to the show. Just apologies of the
videos,
week.
they're very therapeutic. I will say that. Highly recommend.
All right. We'll workshop it. But for now, let's talk about what we have liked and disliked. So my rose for this show is the animation. Like taking a second look at it, it's just even more stunning the second time around. And like I feel like I was almost in shock the first time I was watching it, and then revisiting it, like I got to just like take it in and really analyze it and see all of those like fine details. And it's so juicy the way they've done it. It's beautiful. So my rose is the animation. Marissa, quickly, what's yours?
Specifically, it moves fast. Specifically, the first episode, it's 45 minutes, but I was engaged the whole time. I mean, part of that is the visuals. Part of that probably is that it's children's programming. It was very stimulating. I was like, maybe I should be watching more kids shows. I am not bored at all. So, yeah, moves fast.
I love that. I love the idea that like kid shows are more properly paced for our attention span. There's something there that we need to go think about. Sly, what was your rose?
My rose for the back half of the episodes we've got so far was the whole humanity is important storyline of episode 6. I thought that was really fun and really well done.
Imagine Marvel doing a plot well done. That's a win. That's a win. Alexis, what's your rose?
I combined two. So just that way hair is treated on the show in general, and the animation. Those were my big roses.
We love.
I will
and
say
let's
I
just-
did not put my rose as the episode 5 hair love story because I knew Alexis was going to talk about it. I was just like
Love
giving
it.
that one to you.
Thank you.
And let's do some thorns. It's so hard to watch the show in Canada for literally no reason. I'm still mad about it. Next, Marissa.
Literally no promotion except the front page of Disney Plus for like a day. I didn't know that this show existed until Alexis brought it up. I think maybe Sly had it on a list. But
they did have a little bit at Avengers Campus, didn't you say?
no, it's the
Oh.
part of Hollywood Studios that's not Avengers Campus that should be pushed back and themed as Avengers Campus. It's this little like street corner where they usually have like the Spidey and Friends, the Disney Junior show. So it's sort of where they put like the tangential Marvel characters that are more for kids. But it should be part of Avengers Campus. It should be themed. But yes, you could meet Moon Girl. It was very cute. They were playing her theme song. It was great. Never a line. Almost no one there to talk to her. It was
sad.
very upsetting. Also, no merch. Not a single piece of merchandise in those parks. So, it was sort of like in their, I'm going on a whole thing now, I'm sorry, but in their sort of pitch of the show, it was like, it's coming out during Black History Month. It's celebrating this, you know, Black girl in STEM, blah, blah, blah. Where? Why? I don't believe you because you haven't
no
been talking
follow
about
through.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thorn.
That's distressing.
Mm-hmm.
Sly?
My thorn is very much less significant than Marissa's wonderful point. The episode 4, they gave an AI feelings, and that just was deeply uncomfortable for me. Don't give the AI emotions. I'm not here for that.
Give the Jello mold emotions, not the AI.
Alexis is
Yeah,
taking notes.
exactly.
Alexis is taking notes. And Alexis, your thorn?
My thorn is the least serious. And that is, and I know some people on this show appreciated the disco ball dino situation, and you were totally valid,
Darn it.
husband. But the idea of the feeling of that much glitter on that dinosaur, I cannot rewatch that scene. So for me, glitter dino, that I just am visualized like Marissa having to like crawl around the skating rink floor with her duct tape, like trying to get all the glitter up. Like I couldn't handle it. So glitter dino would be my thorn.
That's valid. That's valid. And I think I have spent the whole episode with my name looking like this, and I forgot to say this is the name of Devil Dinosaur. It's terrifying fire beast that will bring about the end of all things. And
I will say there are 2 cats that I follow on TikTok, and one of them plays with a teapottum, which is the thing off the almond milk thing, and it looks enough like your name that like every like couple minutes I was like, teapottum? Oh no, Devil Dinosaur.
yeah, I think it's too long of an what is this? It's not an anagram. What is this?
That's an abbreviation.
Thank you. An abbreviation. It is late where I live. Too long of an abbreviation to keep for future episodes, but for this episode was fun to bring back as the resident triple fire sign. I do feel like I am the fire beast that will bring about the end of all show docs. So with that said,
I just love that it's both of our Leo rising constantly clashing.
Yeah.
Every time we do anything. Love that for us.
Love that for us.
Love you, bestie Libra.
Oh my God. What a week. What an episode. Where can everyone follow us over the next week? I'll go first. I'm producer Liz everywhere on the internet, except for Twitter, where I'm producer Liz with 2 Z's. I'm traveling again this week. We've got an influencer event on Friday, which is very exciting. I'll take you behind the scenes of that. And we've got all kinds of award season content that's coming down the pipeline, an update on the Jamie Lee Curtis PR hot take that kind of swept the internet that I posted in January. I finally posted a follow-up to that. And not watching Ant-Man and watching a lot more Outer Banks. That's what I'm up to. Marissa, what about you?
You can find me everywhere at Miss Abobissa on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and Tumblr, if I remember that I have a Tumblr sometimes. I don't know what I'll be up to this week. Probably more yelling about Rogers the Musical. Yeah, that's probably what you can expect. Honestly, I'm trying to think of other stuff, but that's sort of the only thing on my brain right now.
That's a good list. We can keep it there and see what the week has in store. Sarah, what are you up to?
You can find accounts at CycloneMC everywhere on the internet with no content. But like you can follow those if you want. Eventually there'll be something there, I guess. I do host or co-host 4 shows. Whew. We have Thirsty Thursdays live on TikTok every week that I'm not banned on TikTok. We got the Point in Progress podcast now on YouTube. .com/Point in Progress every Friday. You got We'll Throw the After Party. You're here, you know, you're hip with all the things. And you can also find me fortnightly on MC University. Of course, go my journey through all of the non-MCU Marvel movies. We're, you know, wrapping up, coming up soon on the end of season 2, which will be like the official end of the show. We'll have some extra credits. We might have a season 3 in like 5 years when all of the like announced projects finally come out. But yeah, it'll be really exciting to have a project that's done.
Imagine
for
that.
once.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
right?
A show
Who'd have
that
thought?
ends couldn't be us. And Alexis, where can people find you?
I'm at Just Alexis Blake on Instagram and on TikTok. My life is in mass chaos right now, so I haven't been on TikTok, but you can usually find me there. And yeah, that's me.
I love it. It's beautiful. It's so good. Thank you all for hanging out with us. It's nice to revisit our roots all together and go back to the very, very, very beginning of all of this, which was Rogers the musical. And to be kind of right back where we started has caused me to reflect. But it's nice to see so many of you were with us in those days and you're still with us today. So for everyone that stuck around, thank you for being here. And everyone that's joined us along the way, thank you for being here. And we'll see you next Saturday night. We've got a lot of awards show updating next week. We've got some big shows coming down the pipeline that we're going to start talking about. And we'll be here throwing the after party. And I don't have the banner up.
Oh, I did. Fuck.
Hold on.
Follow us everywhere on the internet at After Party Show.
Woohoo! Bye, everyone.